Welcome back to the 31305 podcast. This is episode 11, and as you may notice, if you're going to watch this on YouTube, hopefully this episode you can see our faces. I'm here with Alex. How you doing?
We're actually people. We're not robots. We swear. This is our proof. We exist. I'm doing great.
Hopefully going to have this episode up on YouTube this week. We've been having a little troubles with setting the YouTube up, so hopefully you can all see our faces as we talk on the podcast. But what a week it was in sports. It turns out that Phoenix was actually, the center of everything this week with the Super Bowl and some trade stuff and some golf. Like crazy weekend out here in Phoenix. I did not leave my house. It was like an hour to even get downtown, so I said no, thank you. But so we'll start off. Super Bowl, was it 57?
57. Yeah.
Super Bowl 57. The years are flying by. I feel like we just had Super Bowl 50, but
hmm
we had a new champion, champion of past. What, like 4 years ago?
Yeah. Three. Yeah. So Kansas City. I mean, it was a great game. I'm gonna offer now. It was a really good game. Kansas City and Philly both showed why they're the one seeds. There was very little mistakes made by either team, and had the makings to be an epic classic at the end. If Philly would have had the chance to get the ball back in the fourth quarter, there was a holding call, somewhat questionable on third down, allowed Kansas City to drain the clock, set up a Harrison Butker game-winning field goal with 8 seconds left. Gardner Johnson, the DB who actually committed the penalty, even stated after the game he knew it was a holding call. Juju Smith, the receiver who got held, said he's a great cornerback, but even he knows it was holding. The coaches weren't upset. I think it was more like fan response and media response than players realizing it wasn't the correct call or not. But in the end, Kansas City did exactly what they did against the Niners. They roared back in the second half, fourth quarter. They outscored Philly by 13 in the second half. They outscored San Francisco by 11 in Super Bowl 54 in Miami 3 years ago. And it was a great game. I was very entertained. I think both quarterbacks played very well, showed why they were 1 and 2 in MVP. And Kansas City ended up just being just that much better and airing out Philly to be world champions.
Yeah, we saw Mahomes go down at the end of the second half with an ankle injury, and we thought, oh, if this is serious, then this this might be it. They went down what 10? They're on 24-14 going into the half, with Mahomes going down, and I think everybody knew he was going to come out and play. It was just going to be how effective would he be, and he looked way better in the second half than he did in the first half, making a lot of difficult throws on that bad ankle. Um, just a little bit too much for the Eagles to be able to come over. I think this is a great FU performance by Jalen Hurts. This was Jalen Hurts' I belong here. He had what over 300 total yards in the game. He might have had more than that. Was effective in the air, on the ground. Like Jalen Hurts, I think solidified himself as a top five quarterback in the league going into next year. The penalty, uh, I keep going. I keep going through it. When I first saw it happen, I was like, "Wow, you cannot call that. Like, it wasn't that bad." And now, with a day to reflect, like it was a penalty. Um,
I think it was less about was it a penalty versus do you
the
make that
timing, yeah,
call
like that is
in that
not, yeah,
situation? Because
right,
if that call isn't made, like Casey kicks a field goal, but Philly has a minute and 27 essentially to get the ball back and lead an amazing game tying or game winning drive down the field. So
yeah,
I think it was less about whether it was or not versus
just the
whether
timing.
exactly the
But
timing.
I mean, even with Casey, I mean, if you stop him and that's a field goal attempt, and Butker had already missed one off the post earlier in the game, so that's not even a guarantee.
That's true.
That was a big swing in momentum after the penalty. They were able to just. Jarek McKinnon could have scored a touchdown, went down at like the 2 yard. They took some knees, kicked the field goal, won the
Smartly.
game smartly. Yeah, as much as I wanted to see him score and like see if Jalen Hurts could lead a comeback with like a minute left, would have been insane. But smart decision to go down. Uh, I, I don't know. It was a great game that I think this penalty call is gonna loom over it pretty large of what could have been from Jalen Hurts.
I think Philly fans are the most upset. Like
Oh God,
even
bro, they
like
are lighting that city up.
there's a meme like, oh, I'm sure like, it's a good thing the city of Philadelphia is like nice, calm, reasonable fans. Absolutely not.
Yeah, they're
They're
the
gonna be
greatest people.
they're gonna be upset about this all year and all
They
off
will
season.
they will
But
definitely be nice to each other in the streets today.
about Hurts, you're right. Hurts did play great. He was a leading rusher for Philly. He had 70 rushing yards. He had four total tutties. I mean, It was essentially every 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1. It was almost guaranteed from the get it because I did the same quarterback sneak.
Yeah, the quarterback sneak that he's like 35 for 40 on now in his career.
I didn't realize how good they were at it until I
Oh, dude,
watched the
he's like
game.
the best. He's the best quarterback at doing that. It's
It's
insane.
crazy. He had
Which
300.
I
Yeah,
was say, I do think they need to change the rules of pushing the quarterback from behind. I think it's a little cheese,
like
but
the Bush push in college
yeah,
where they
like
stopped that.
it's a little much to have like three 250-pound dudes behind you. All you gotta do is get a yard. Like
Yeah.
if you just push, you're gonna get the yard. Which I want to. I wouldn't be mad if they made a rule that said that you can't do that anymore. You can only have one person um pushing at one time. I don't know how you would enforce that, but
Just nobody
um
can push the ball carrier from behind, you
yeah,
know?
like I would love that rule. But then it gets into a gray area of like, well, if then like the whole like pushing the pile on a run, like are you not allowed to push the pile anymore to get extra yards? And I just see
Yeah.
there's a lot of gray area there, but would definitely like to see maybe a rule change with that. But still, nonetheless, I mean, 300 yards in the air, like you said, 70 yards on the ground, almost 400 total yards, 4 touchdowns. If the Eagles had won, he would have been the unanimous MVP.
He could have won MVP even if they lost,
Even yeah,
honestly.
exactly.
I mean, Mahomes was accurate. He only had 6 incompletions and he threw for 3 touchdowns. Did he even crack 200 yards? Sorry for your over,
No.
Taylor.
Oh, dude,
But
I'm so mad about that. Everything hit except for Mahomes is over.
yeah, but I mean, he had the 26-yard scamper in the 4th quarter when all the questions about his ankle, and I thought he was honestly going to score because it looked like no Philly defender was near him in the pocket as he scampered out. But he played it well enough for them to win. It was the same in the last Super Bowl. Like Damian Williams had more of an impact overall in scoring more touchdowns than Mahomes did against the Niners, but I mean, it's the quarterback. Like, who's going to win MVP over the quarterback? You know,
Yeah,
like
I
besides
mean,
Malcolm Butler in that Super Bowl with the Seahawks because he made the interception to win the game. But like, it's hard to not give it to Patrick Mahomes.
yeah, I mean, look, but that was the thing though, is like if the Eagles had won, Jalen Hurts 100% deserved to win it. With the
Hmm.
Chiefs, it's like, did Mahomes really deserve to win it? Yes, he threw for 3 touchdowns, but he only had 180 yards. He wasn't like super effective through the air. I mean, he had a lot of just little dink and dumps and stuff like that. But like, then you also look at the Chiefs box score, and it's like, well, who would have won it? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, they're gonna give it to Mahomes. I think Nick Bolton, the defensive lineman that scored the touchdown, almost had another one. Could have had it, but I don't know. They had great field position seemingly all game with good punt returns by Kadarius Toney and timely turnovers, and Mahomes didn't have to go down the field as much as he usually would have had to.
Yeah, that scoop and score was a huge part because I mean, Philly had the ball. It was what 14-7 at the time, and they were
Yeah,
driving down the field, and it literally just slipped out of Hurts' hand. Nobody even hit him. So if they go down the field, get a field goal or a touchdown, even that completely changes the complexity of the game. And I was mentioning earlier, like besides that, neither team, there were no other turnovers in the game. Like both teams played very well. The defenses did just enough to stop the other team, but without forcing a turnover or a pick or a fumble, even though on the first carry, Miles Sanders did fumble it out of bounds the first carry of the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
I doubt
That could have turned out terribly.
that could have, but I don't think he's going to get re-signed by Philly because I mean, they did well enough with Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. Miles Sanders wasn't even a factor. Jalen
I
Hurts.
mean, let's be honest. I think they only had a combined like 30. Like my Kenneth Gainwell had 21 yards on 7 carries. Boston Scott had 8. Like
Yeah, but I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, you have Jalen Hurts,
but
but
Jalen,
let's
that's what I'm saying. Jalen
yeah.
Hurts was the main rusher, so it's not like you thought Philly was doing bad running the ball. It didn't really matter who was in the backfield.
I think you still want a competent running back in the backfield there, but
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying they shouldn't doled out like 12
oh yeah,
million,
they
15
should
million.
not. Yeah, if that's what
Just
Miles
draft one.
Sanders is asking for, then no, absolutely not.
Yeah. One thing that we did see throughout the entire game is the field conditions, and it was advertised that they had been working on this golf grass for like 7 years since the Seahawks and Patriots had played in Arizona in the last Super Bowl 48, and it was terrible. The field conditions themselves were awful. Players were slipping from both teams. There were giant divots from the halftime show of Rihanna, which we'll get to in a second, of just they had to work on it so much. And it was just all the players agreed, just play on normal grass. Why try to make it fancy? Why try to make it, ooh, this is the Super Bowl. We're going to play on only like pasteurized grass or whatever that means. Like, just keep it simple. Keep exactly what it should be for the rest of the games. Forget turf, forget any fancy grass you're trying to come up with because it impacted the game. I mean, there wasn't like a big slippage, but imagine on that scoop and score, the Chiefs defender fell down because he slipped on the grass, you know? That would have been terrible.
Yeah, the field conditions were definitely not ideal. I know I saw Isaiah Pacheco like after he scored his touchdown, almost blowing his ACL out in the back of the end zone. Quite a few not Chiefs, Eagles players had to change cleats at halftime, and it just looked a mess. And after the game, they said it's the worst field that they've ever played on. And for the Super Bowl to have the worst field you've ever played on is an absolute embarrassment. Like it is the top of sports like in America. Like the Super Bowl is probably the most watched, I'd say, other than like the World Cup.
Yeah.
But the Super Bowl is like the most watched thing in America. And to have it be the worst field conditions that these guys have ever played on is really bad.
Yeah, and like I mean, them and the Raiders, which is so funny because Vegas is hosting the Super Bowl next
Vegas
year.
has the rollout field too.
They do.
Chicago
So
does.
people are wondering if the field conditions are going to transfer and be the same. I don't think that's the issue. Like the technology they use is fine. It's
Yeah.
just what they used it for. Because I
What
mean,
the
even
actual material is.
yeah, because even during Cardinals home games, I'm sure you saw like not everybody was slipping left, right, and center, but it was like
I didn't watch that shit.
no, but like the NFL logo, the end zones, anything that was like painted on, like and the Super Bowl 57 logo, like anything that was painted on the field was way worse. People were slipping on it like way more often, which is why Pacheco almost blew out his ACL trying to celebrate his
Like
touchdown.
actually almost blew his ACL out. I was like, I watched it. I was like, oh no. As he like
Yeah,
slipped and he reached back, I was like, oh shit, he just blew his ACL out, didn't he?
yeah,
There was definitely quite a few slips, and especially on the defensive line, people trying to like get their footing, trying to get around the O line. You could just see them just instant. It's like they were on skates.
yeah. Son Reddick literally just took one step and went to the
Yeah, just
ground.
gone.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to figure that out because that was not acceptable for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I will say it was a great game. I would say it ranks similarly, if not slightly better than last year's, because I think both teams were in it for the longer amount. I don't know. Like the Bengals Rams game was good last year. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Rams also having the home field advantage kind of swayed it a little bit more. Where you never really thought Cincy was like going to win, but I thought for the entire game, I thought Philly was going to win, and then KC just storms back in the second half after Mahomes' injury.
I
But
told you. I texted you. I said the script writers have this set up to have Mahomes go down with an injury at halftime and come back and lead them to a win. I texted you. I said this is happening.
yeah,
And
yeah, you did. You were right.
it ended up happening. Mahomes didn't have like the best game ever, but still was able to lead the team to that's his second Super Bowl, two MVPs, and what two Super Bowl MVPs now.
Yep, in his first 5 years in the league.
Yeah, he. There's been a lot of like debate the last couple of days. Is like, is he a Hall of Famer? I think he. If he ended his career right now, he's going into the Hall of Fame.
I think he is. Yeah. I mean, he set the single season passing yard record too. You know, which I'm sure might be broken in the future. But yeah, two MVPs and two Super Bowls kind of guarantees you a Hall of Fame spot.
Yeah, like he could play for 5 years if he hung him up right now. And was like, I want to spend time with Brittany Mahomes
And Jackson Mahomes, his brother.
He would be. I don't know if he'd be first ballot, but he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think eventually he'd get in.
Yeah.
Along with the actual game itself, I don't know if you have any other thoughts you want to put about the actual game.
Not about the game, but we can look after we talk about the halftime show. We can look forward to a little bit of next year predictions.
Yeah, yeah.
Early predictions.
One of the things that always happens at Super Bowl, of course, is commercials. And people paid around $7 million this year for a 30-second ad in the Super Bowl, which is ridiculous amounts of money. I think the commercials that stuck out the most, besides the movie trailers and stuff, was the weird M&M ones where it was clams instead of M&Ms inside the chocolate filling. And there was the commercial about Coors Light and Miller Light battling each other. And it was actually a Blue Moon ad at the end.
Commercial.
There's a Blue Moon commercial, which my
Yeah.
buddy Jason, Jason, he loves Blue Moon, so he was
They're all owned by the same company, which is
exactly. I mean, it's genius. It's genius. Did any commercial? Did you remember any catch your eye? Anything that would stand out?
I just didn't. I don't care. Like the
You don't care
commercials-
enough.
the commercials do not hit like they used to. I will say the one Tubi commercial.
Yeah.
One got me. That one
Yeah.
got me where they cut out to like Greg Olson and the other guy commenting about the Super Bowl, and I was like, okay. And then just the Tubi thing comes up and switches channels. I was like, what the fuck happened?
I know it was like, wait,
Got
did
me
somebody
for a
press the
second. I
remote?
was like,
Somebody
is
pressed the
someone
remote
in
on their
my
TV.
house?
That one was good. That was good. With it for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, like commercials don't hit like they used to with like the old like Budweiser commercials and
Or Doritos. The Doritos
the old
commercials.
Doritos commercials or the old Skittles commercials. Like those were the best. And I think a lot has to do with like where commercials have like. I feel like commercials nowadays are better like in general than they were back in the day. So it's like
Mhm.
when you see a Super Bowl commercial, you're like, yeah, it's a commercial I see like every day now.
Yeah, nothing beats the Whopper Whopper which didn't have an
It
ad.
didn't happen. I was hoping.
Burger King didn't have an ad.
I told Grace, I was like, you know what we're gonna see tonight? She's like, yeah, it's a Super Bowl. I said, no, Burger King's gonna have a new commercial. I guaranteed it. I was so excited to hear Whopper Whopper again.
Yeah,
But
they
alas,
know they don't need to spend the money.
oh.
They're already kings.
Well, the thing is, like, I still have not. I love that commercial, and I still have not gotten Burger King. I keep telling myself, like, I'm gonna go get a Whopper, but I never do.
Yeah, I hate Burger King now. I didn't like it before, but like I hate it now too.
Yeah, but like commercials in general, I didn't care. I was on my phone during the commercials, so
Along with the
suck
commercial,
me.
of course, that's fine. Along with the commercials, we have the halftime show. Riri, Rihanna, 29 minutes halftime show. No supporting acts or artists. It was just her the entire time. Kind of thought Kanye West was gonna make it a performance because she did 3 songs by him, or Jay Z. She did 2 by
Yeah,
Jay Z.
yeah.
What did you think about it? I thought, I mean, I'm not rude. And everyone had this conversation in the living room and it was trending about pregnant, if Rihanna was
Oh,
pregnant or not,
she's pregnant for sure.
even though she just had her child 3 months ago.
Uh,
So
they got on that ASAP.
ASAP Rocky,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
And that ASAP Rocky. I think she's definitely pregnant. I mean,
No, she definitely is.
I think she is. But what do you think about the show itself? I thought 6 out of 10. It was okay, but it didn't blow my mind.
Yeah, I don't think it was better than was last year the Eminem and
Eminem
50s,
and
yeah, all them.
Dr. Dre.
I don't think it was better than that one, but I mean it's Rihanna. Like, come on, she's the second best or second like most known singer right now, other than Beyonce.
Yeah.
Was really hoping. I heard all of the lights, and me and Grace looked at each other like we're like, no way, is he about to come out and start
Yeah.
singing? But like, god damn it, why did you have to be so problematic, Kanye? Because that
Yeah.
would have been iconic. And then Run
I'll-
This Town, I was like, oh, Jay-Z, and Jay-Z was in the stadium.
He was
It
at
would
the
have been
game.
so easy to just be like, hey, Jay-Z, come sing like 2 songs with me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm probably on your side. It's probably a 6 out of 10. Like her songs that she has are so iconic. You could tell she was lip syncing. She wasn't singing.
Oh, for
the whole
sure.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, like who does at the Super Bowl? But I
Mhm.
mean, it's Rihanna. She's iconic. Great songs. Was hoping to see a guest, but I mean, other than that, nothing too spectacular. I think last year's was definitely better.
The stage reminded me of like a Smash Bros.
A Smash
stage.
Bros. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had like the floating
Yeah.
platforms, and I made the argument. I'm like, if I have to perform up there, I'm like shaking because I'm
Oh,
okay
yeah.
with heights, but like on a
I
platform that's
I
only
am
supported by
not.
4 wires, no way.
I don't know. I hate heights, so
Yeah.
I would have been like, no, I'm
Yeah.
good.
But it was okay. Like you said, like I think I if DJ Khaled would have came out for one of the
Yeah,
songs,
yeah.
that would have
Yeah.
been amazing. I think the best part was the support. All the background dancers were wearing the all white. It looks like they were like in the Arctic. And like there's this meme trending of all of them hopping onto the field.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
It's super funny. But yeah, I'd say 6 out of 10. I think it's gonna be either Harry Styles or Taylor Swift next year, honestly. I think that's who's gonna be performing it.
I don't know, cause like
But
Do
it's
I
Vegas,
really-
so they could get a rock star. So
it's Vegas, but like you know who's never done a Super Bowl is Drizzy Drake.
yeah, I know, but I don't think that translates to a Super Bowl halftime show. Like what song besides like
I mean, neither does Maroon 5, and Maroon 5 got a halftime show.
yeah, it's true.
Like, yeah, that's what I want to jam out to is what's the song? Fucking
Payphone.
no.
She will be loved.
Yeah, she will. Yeah,
She
that's
will
what I
be
want to
loved.
jam out to at a Super Bowl halftime show. She will be loved. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like if they can get it, you two can get it. Like,
yeah,
get Drake. Why not? But yeah, Taylor Swift being like on her whatever tour it is, like
yeah.
worldwide tour, and everyone's buying tickets. I could definitely see Taylor Swift doing it. Even though I feel like
Yeah.
did she do one? I don't know. I don't pay attention to that shit. But
I think that Harry Styles or BTS even could be a shout. Nobody would know the words besides Dynamite, but I think I mean it would be iconic. I would say that get an international act in there.
I don't know. The halftime shows I feel like have just gone down in quality in the last like 10 years.
We do, of course, have the Super Bowl, which we talked about next year in Vegas. Any thoughts on who you think is going to make it to Vegas next year to rep the AFC and NFC? Super early predictions. Obviously,
I
my prediction was
absolutely do.
wrong. My prediction was wrong. I picked Philly to win. You picked Buffalo against Niners, but your second
My
pick
second
was
pick
right.
won.
Your second pick was right. So I could have gone KC and just like had both sides covered. But who do you think's making it next year to Vegas?
So, I think you know where I'm going with this one.
Oh, I'm immediately typing it already in the Google
Yeah.
Doc.
I think you already. Let's see. Did it? You got half of it right. You
Okay.
got half of it right. I
Okay.
don't think Miami makes the Super Bowl next year because I think the AFC is just too stacked.
Oh my God.
Um, Out of the AFC, we saw the Bills have trouble this year.
Hmm.
The Chiefs obviously are going to be the favorites in the AFC next year, coming off the Super Bowl win.
Hmm.
I'm going to take Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll even
Okay.
give you my AFC Championship prediction.
Okay.
It's going to be the Bengals beating the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's a that's a
Yeah,
that's a pick.
that is a pick. I think the Chiefs take a step down. I don't know why. I'm just absolutely way too early predictions.
Okay.
Um,
And
in
the
the
NFC?
NFC, I have my Detroit Lions beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship and making it to the Super Bowl. I will unfortunately be taking Bengals over the Lions, though. I think the Lions are going to surprise a lot of teams next year in a really weak NFC North.
I mean, that's a pick.
I mean,
I don't.
they have like the 10th best odds to win the Super Bowl. So like, is it crazy? Yeah, but like, it's really not like it's not insane. They have like I think they're 8, 9, or 10 in like odds for next year.
They're
They're
11
plus
because they're tied with the Dolphins,
okay.
and the Jets are ninth, which I don't
Yeah, and like
understand. Why are the
The
Jets
the
ninth?
Jets are not better than the Lions. Like they're a top
Yeah.
10 team, which is a playoff team, and anything can happen in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll do my NFC Championship game first. I'm sadly not going to pick the Lions. I'm sorry. I think the Lions make it to the divisional round and then they get knocked out.
That's
Like
fine. Hey, I'll take that.
I have them hosting a playoff game, which in Detroit was already a win, and then after that, I think they
Wait, so
get knocked out.
you think we lose our game that we host?
No, because you'll play in the wild card round. You'll host a wild card game,
Oh, so
and
you
then
will be
you'll
the 4 seed.
you'll be on the road in the divisional game, and then you'll lose. That's what I think is going to happen. So
Honestly, I would take that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think it's bad, but I
No,
think that's
I
going
would
to be okay.
absolutely take that.
Yeah. It's hard to predict because the NFC doesn't have a lot of superpower this year, but I'm taking San Francisco, making it again to the NFC Championship game. I think they figure out their quarterback, whoever it is going to make it. And because that team is way too talented, like Christian McCaffrey for full offseason and Kyle Shanahan's offense, like I think, and their defense is all staying together. Nobody big is leaving on offense except Jimmy G. Like I think San Fran's going to make it. I think San Fran's going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl next year. I have them playing. You're gonna murder me for this. I have them
Don't say the
playing.
Chiefs. Don't say the Chiefs.
No, in the NFC,
Oh,
NFC.
for the
I
NFC
have them
Championship. Okay.
I have them playing the Rams. I think the Rams are gonna make it back to the Super Bowl
Okay.
next year. I think they're gonna get fully healthy, go for one last ride. I think they'll come up short, but I think it's gonna be San Fran and LA in the which would be I mean, that's what it was last year.
Oh, bro, imagine the Lions have to play the Rams in the playoffs.
That's what I think is gonna happen. I think they have to go
Dude,
to LA. LA will be the 2 seed, and then they'll lose.
I don't know. Like that would be the one team I would have full confidence we beat.
Okay.
I just feel like Matthew Stafford he might he might toss that game. Might be
Yep.
oh, I'm a little hurt, but I'm gonna play through it kind of game and throw a couple picks.
Yeah. In the AFC, I have the Dolphins going to Kansas City and
Oh,
beating
jeez.
Kansas City. And I have San Francisco winning the Super Bowl next year. I mean, I think this just wasn't their year for all the injuries, especially at quarterback, but hopefully next year they get through it. The team is made to win. And I think the Dolphins figure it out. I think they were really just short on health. I mean, they took it to Buffalo in the playoffs and it was Skylar Thompson starting. So I think if Tua's healthy, with Vic Fangio on offense or on defense, sorry, able to do better. So I'm thinking it's Miami makes it, but I'm gonna put San Francisco over Miami in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, Miami's a solid pick too. I mean, I know we're both Dolphins fans and I'm a Lions fan, so this is to the outside people. This is gonna be like, damn, bro,
Wait,
they're just picking
can't even see
their.
it.
Oh, yeah, you can't. They're just picking their favorite teams, but like, both of our favorite teams have been bad our entire lives, and
They're
like
on the up and up.
they're
They're on the up and up.
and
Here you go
they're
this way.
both like top 10 in the odds for next year. So it's not as crazy as it might seem.
Yeah.
Bro, if it's the Lions versus Dolphins Super Bowl,
Oh, we're going to
uh,
Vegas. Imagine going to Vegas
we're
and then
going.
getting to go to the Super Bowl
We're going to
afterwards.
Vegas.
Yeah, I'll
Will
go.
we go to the Super Bowl? Probably not, because I
Yeah,
don't
but
have
we'll go to Vegas.
$7,000. But I will go to Vegas for that,
Yeah, you're a what 4 hour drive?
bro. That yeah, about 4 hours. But
Yeah,
that
4 hour
that
drive.
is a win-win for me. No matter what happens, I'm going home happy.
Yeah, it's true. In Phoenix, we
Wait,
had a
wait, wait, wait.
yeah, go
Before
for
we
it.
move on,
Yeah.
who is your worst team next year?
That's so hard to predict before the
I
season
know, I
starts
know.
because there's so many moves that have to happen. Worst team in the NFL next year,
Who will have the number one pick if the season started right now?
the Chicago Bears. I think
Oh,
they're going to repeat. I know they have a bunch of cap space and they have a bunch of draft talent, but that team really is bad. I
they're
mean, they
bad, but like the division they're in isn't. It's not great.
I still think they're going to end up with the number one pick, no
Okay.
matter what. I think Houston is close, and the Indianapolis is really close.
Yeah.
So I would honestly go Chicago, Indy, and then Houston, but I'm gonna go Chicago.
Yeah, I was thinking Indy. I think it's gonna be between two teams. It's gonna be between the Cardinals and the Colts. If I had to pick one right now, I'm gonna say the Colts,
Hmm.
just because they have no quarterback. They do have Jonathan Taylor, but who knows if he can stay healthy for an entire year. But
Yeah,
they're also in a division that's not like super competitive, so I don't know. I think I'm leaning Colts to be the worst this year, but I wouldn't be shocked if like the Cardinals did it. Oh my god, the Texans. I don't think the Texans will be great. I think they'll win a couple more. I think the Bears are going to be. I think the Bears are like a 5-win team next year, maybe
hmm.
six, just because of like
We'll see.
they'll probably beat the Packers at least once. They'll probably beat the Vikings once, and they'll probably beat they'll win two division games next year. And I don't know what their schedule is, but
Yeah, that
I
is
feel like
true.
Justin Fields is a little too good to go back to back number one picks.
We'll see. I mean, it could also depend on if he's healthy the entire season. He got a little knocked up at the end, didn't play the last two games. So
Knocked up, he got pregnant.
yeah, injuries, got
Yeah.
injured. Uh, we're just talking about Phoenix, and we're going to transition to the big thing that also happened besides Super Bowl since the last podcast was the NBA trade deadline. And you were right, Phoenix was in the middle of the sports world, not only for Super Bowl 57, but KD, Kevin Durant is going out west again, along with TJ Warren in the major move of the deadline. I mean, Phoenix is sending out Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first rounders, and a fifth pick swap. And Phoenix is getting their championship window back. I mean, for the next 3 to 4 seasons, or let's call it 2 to 3 seasons, Phoenix is now going to be the number 1 through 3 seed in the West, barring health. I mean, there's no way this team doesn't finish with 55 wins or more. Like, they're going to finish with more than 55 wins, right?
Oh, they absolutely have to. Kevin Durant, he's not going to play tomorrow or Thursday. He won't play until after the All Star break, so he's going to miss. I think he missed the first 4 games he could have played. And my dumbass, at 12 o'clock at night, was awake, waiting for Grace to get home from the airport so I could pick her up. And I was just, I was just sitting on ESPN, like, what am I going to do at midnight? Watching Sports Center and see it. I'm like, there's no way that we just traded for Kevin Durant. So my dumbass instantly bought tickets. Instantly bought games for tomorrow night, which would have been his first home game.
Yep.
Not realizing that Kevin Durant is out until after the All Star break. So I bought tickets. Luckily, we're only like $40 a piece.
Yep.
About an hour later, they were at $150 a piece. So I'm assuming a lot of people thought the exact same thing as me. It was like, holy shit, we have to go to Kevin Durant's first game, and then realized, oh shit, Kevin Durant is not playing.
Why don't you
'Cause
just sell them?
we could have, but it's like Ticketmaster takes like 50% of the profit anyway. So like
Oh,
if we
okay.
had sold it for for like $110 a ticket, we only would have gotten like $60 back anyway. So it's like,
Yeah, it's not worth it.
is it really worth all the trouble to make $20 profit, or we could just go to the game? Like,
Yeah.
it is also Devin Booker's like first home game back again since
Oh,
being
that's
hurt,
good.
so it's also Valentine's Day. So,
Ah, yeah, that's nice.
but this is a huge move for him. They absolutely unloaded. Like Mikal Bridges, probably one of the most underrated players in the league. I think he's really good. Great defensive player, great scorer. Cam Johnson, I mean, he's missed most of the year. Good 3-point shooter is going to help the Nets. I think him and Mikal Bridges have already played in Brooklyn and done pretty solid. And then Jay Crowder, who hasn't even played for us this year, is like, okay, thank God we got rid of him. The four first round picks, I think, is going to hurt them most. Like, you are mortgaging your entire the next 10 years to win one finals because KD has the rest of this year and then 3 years after that, I think.
Yeah.
So you have until what 2026 to win at least one finals. If they don't win an NBA finals in while KD's here, and I'm assuming after KD's contract is up, he might be done. I don't know. He'd be like what, 38,
He's 34
39.
right now.
Yes, he'd be pushing it. He might end up like going back to like OKC on a 1 year deal just to like finish it out or something. But if the Suns do not win in the next 4 years, this is gonna be a disaster trade for him because they gave up a lot.
I made this note for later, but I'll bring it up now about Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton are all under contract for at least 3 years. That's it. No one else on the team is on contract after this season except for Cameron Payne. He's the only player. So they're going to have to rework 8 roster spots next season, next offseason. And obviously they're tied in salary cap because Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Ayton make close to the max. So they're going to have to sign
Yeah, they're already
minimum.
over it. They're in the luxury tax already.
Yeah, so they're going to have to sign minimum signings or veterans exceptions, mid-level players, that kind of stuff. Which, I
This
mean,
is this is not going to be a deep team by any stretch of the imagination.
exactly. So you're gonna have to hope like the buyout market is good for them. Along with, I mean, they need wings. That's the funny thing. They got rid of 2 of
They
them,
got rid of 2 of our wings. For
and
Kevin
they
Durant
got
doesn't even
2
play the
back.
wing, so
They got 2 back, but TJ Warren's only got this year left. No guarantee he resigns in the
yeah.
offseason. But I mean, for the next 2 to 4 years, again, pending health, this team is the championship favorites. Like they can match up with Denver and beat them. Definitely over New Orleans, definitely over Memphis, over the Lakers and Warriors. This is their time. They just have to stay healthy and just make it to the playoffs, honestly. And then they're given a shot.
Yeah, it's huge for them, but this is like the kind of team if one of their stars gets injured now, like you have no depth. With
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker going down, Mikal Bridges took over a lot of the scoring, and Cam Johnson took over a lot of not a lot, but he came back and was able to contribute to the missing scoring. Now, if Devin Booker goes out, like yeah, you have KD, but there is nobody else on that bench that's going to be able to step in. So yeah, you mortgage a lot of your bench and future draft picks for Kevin Durant, and that's great. Kevin Durant averages what 30 points a game in his career,
Mm-hmm.
probably a top 15 player of all time,
Yeah, top 15. Yeah.
top 15 player of all time. I mean, putting him next to the point god, like this is a super team, like absolutely.
They'll be
And
entertaining as heck to
oh my
watch.
god, it's gonna be so much fun to watch. Like, yeah, you have Chris Paul with like the flashiest, smartest passes you make. Okay, you want to double Devin Booker? All right, we got Kevin Durant. You want to double Kevin Durant? Okay, just throw it down into DeAndre Ayton. Like, this is gonna be a really fun team to watch. But I feel like if things start going poorly quick, it's gonna spiral pretty quick, especially if they get injuries. They need to win this year. They're not gonna be the 1 seed. I don't think they're still like 8.5 games out. If they can sneak into that like 2 or 3 seed, they should be fine. It's gonna be it's tough right now because they don't have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker's kind of been on and off, so they have to win these like couple games coming up. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite to get out of the West now and probably to win it all. I think after the signings, they have like the third best odds to win the finals now.
I think it's just health. Like they just need to get
Yeah,
healthy. Like
that's literally what it is.
Don't rush D Book if he's not ready. Don't rush KD if he's not ready. Like make sure they're healthy and ready for the playoffs because you know they're gonna make it at this point. They've gone on a winning streak long enough to they'll avoid the play in, which is just the number one goal. But you just want to make sure they're healthy. And I mean, for Brooklyn, it's a nice package to get for 34-year-old Kevin Durant. Don't get me wrong, he's amazing. But I mean, Mikal Bridges is a journeyman. He's literally not missed a single game in his NBA career yet.
Iron Man, not
Iron Man.
Journeyman. Yeah.
Iron Man. Sorry, Iron Man. I mean, he's really good, really solid. Him and Ben Simmons and Cam Johnson will be an interesting wing combination to have to sort out with. But they get really good picks. I think they're going to eventually move on from Seth Curry. He's a free agent after this season. And I think they're enough to stay competitive for the play-in tournament. But obviously, expectations are going to go from championship contender to just making the playoffs for them. And they have some work to do. Definitely a fumble job by Brooklyn's management to not maximize more on James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, and to only get this much value for all 3 of them is insane.
Yeah.
But again, given each individual trade kind of makes sense, but when you put it together, there's no way they should have gotten.
Oh, absolutely.
They should have gotten what OKC got for Paul George, or what they got for when they traded Westbrook away. Like they should have gotten way more for this. So it just shows that Brooklyn doesn't know how to manage a team. They don't know how to manage their team.
Brooklyn is in trouble because they don't have a bona fide star on their team. I mean, like Ben Simmons, when he was drafted, was a possible star in the making, and we've seen that he's just been an absolute bust. Um, Mikal Bridges is not a star. Don't get me wrong, he's great. He is not a number one on any team.
Yeah.
4 first round picks, and I don't know the James Harden draft or pick and trade and all that. I don't know what they ended up getting trade wise or pick wise out of all of them. They've got to have somewhere between like what 6 and 8 first round picks out of all these trades. Um, they are going to. There's no way they can even use all those drafts, so they'll probably trade draft picks for future guys or guys that are already established. But I don't even know if this is a play-in team. Like there is there is minimal scoring. They've got what's his name, Cam Thomas scoring like 40 a game, and I don't think that's going to keep up at all.
No, I mean he was on the bench last game and
Yeah,
scored 7. So I mean,
yeah. So I don't even know if this is a playoff team at all in Brooklyn. They've just absolutely mangled. This might be the worst debacle in NBA history, going from James Harden, top 2 player in the league, when they got him, uh, or top 2 at his position at least, maybe not top 2 overall, but Kevin Durant, top 15 all time, and Kyrie, who's probably a top 3 point guard when they got him. Like, absolutely baffled on how they screwed this up so bad.
it just shows that like Brooklyn never made it to the conference finals with this team. They won one playoff series with this team. I mean, they just didn't get it right. It shows that you can acquire as many talents as you want. It doesn't guarantee success. Like you look at Phoenix, I mean, again, great talent, but they've at least shown they can get to that spot even without KD. The Heat, when they got, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, made it to the finals 4 years in a row. People assume that's what's going to happen every time you acquire awesome talent, but not always. I mean, we looked what happened with the Nets, and it shows that you just can't develop a super team and all of a sudden you're magically going to make the finals every year. It does take time. It takes depth. It takes coaching.
Yeah, the Nets are kind of screwed.
We did have, of course, more trades, so we'll get into them a little quicker. LA, the Lakers, robbed teams blind. We'll start off with the 3-team deal they did with Minnesota and Utah. They reacquired D'Angelo Russell. Ice in his veins is back in LA. They got Malik Beasley and Jarrett Vanderbilt from Minnesota and Utah, respectively. Minnesota gets Mike Conley and Nasir Alexander Walker, 3 second-round picks. Second-round picks for flying on Thursday. Utah gets Russell Westbrook, Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, and a 2027 first. At my glance, Minnesota did terrible. Minnesota traded away D'Angelo Russell and only gets Mike Conley, 3 second-rounders, and Alexander Walker, who's on his 3rd team in 4 years. That's terrible. They should have got way more for D'Lo, at least a first. And LA and Utah got really good returns. Utah getting a first-round pick for Jarrett Vanderbilt, and they get Russell Westbrook, who probably going to get bought out, but
yeah, he will not play a game for him.
He won't. But LA, I mean, LA, they got really good. They got much better with this deal. I mean, they get a lot better at point guard with a shooter. Westbrook, yes, Westbrook is who he is, but D'Angelo Russell is having a very good season for Minnesota. And so he's going to go with LeBron and AD, I think, very well. They needed depth on the wings. They got it in Malik Beasley. They needed another big man that can also stretch the floor. Vanderbilt can do that. So Minnesota did okay in this deal. They got Mike Conley, who's a decent enough okay replacement for Russell. But again, they should have got way more for him. And then Utah got a first-round pick, which is all you could want from the people they got rid of.
Yeah, D'Lo back in LA, even though they had to spend more to get him than they got for trading him away the first time, which I think is funny. But yeah, I think it's a solid move for the Lakers, who are still sitting towards the bottom of the play-in. I think I don't know what the standings look like right now. When I checked, they were like 13th. But
they are 13th. Yep.
So is getting D'Lo enough to make them a top 6 team? I don't think so. I don't think adding D'Lo and getting rid of Russell Westbrook is a 7-team difference. Will they make the play-in? They probably will, with a healthy LeBron, a healthy AD, and a D'Lo who, I mean, he's shooting like 37% right now from 3, so think it could be a solid move for him. Yeah, I think Minnesota probably could have gotten more for D'Angelo Russell. All they get was, at this point in his career, a backup Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and 3 second-round picks, which everyone knows second-round picks in the NBA are basically just, I don't know, crapshoots. You throw at a dartboard that if you hit one spot on the dartboard, you might hit, but the rest of it is a miss. So, yeah, LA wins, but like, I don't know how big of a win it is. I don't think this is nothing close to like the Kevin Durant trade where it's gonna propel a team to an NBA Finals. But
It gets them closer to the playoffs, I
It
think.
gets, yeah, it gets them closer to the playoffs, and they probably jump a couple teams along the way. But I don't know, not an earth-shattering move. I don't think it's gonna do too much for them.
D'Lo had 15, 6, and 5 on Saturday. LeBron didn't play against the Warriors. They beat the Warriors because Curry didn't play either. But that was D'Lo's first game for them. And Vanderbilt had 12, 8, and 4. So I mean, they already got good contributions from two players. Again, LeBron didn't play, so those numbers are elevated. But
Like in 13th right now, I mean, they're probably better than Portland. They're probably better than Utah, and they're probably better than OKC. I think those are the three teams. Maybe Minnesota too after getting rid of D'Lo. So there's four teams that they jump. They're probably right in the middle of the play-in at the end of the season.
yeah, we'll see what goes forward. Speaking of Portland, they traded away Josh Hart, who's actually had a really good season. He used to play, of course, for the Pelicans and before that, the Lakers and the Anthony Davis deal. He gets traded from Portland to the Knicks. The Knicks send Cam Reddish, Ryan Arcidiacono, Svai Mikhailiuk, Detroit legend, Svai
Detroit
Mikhailiuk,
legend, sweet.
and a 2023 lottery protected first. The pick is probably not going to be a first because the Knicks are going to make the playoffs. So it'll become 4 future second round picks if it doesn't convey,
which is garbage.
I mean, Portland got a lot of players back. They have to be banking they can figure out Cam Reddish because none of those other two players are even going to be on the team next season. And they already have so many guards on their roster and wing players. And they don't have many point guards, but they have so many 2s and 3s, questionably 4s on their roster. So I think they just have to figure out if Cam Reddish is worth having on their team because Josh Hart's been good. He's probably going to start for the Knicks now next to Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett. But I think it's a good deal for Portland. I'll talk about them in a little bit. And the Knicks get a really solid piece for the playoff push.
Yeah, I think the Knicks definitely get better with Josh Hart. He's having a really good year. He's been like a very underrated, under the radar guy for the last couple of years. And to only get Cam Reddish, Ryan Arcidiacono bench, see Mikhailiuk bench, like 2 bench guys that aren't really going to play at all, and what's essentially 4 second rounders. So really Cam Reddish for Josh Hart. It's a little confusing to me because I think Josh Hart's the better player. Cam Reddish will be on his 3rd team in 4 years because he was on the
Hawks
too, and then the Knicks and now Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody has figured out Cam Reddish at all. So like you said, yeah, they have to be banking on, like, they must see something at Cam Reddish that they know they can fix and or take advantage of and see something that he can do. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I think Josh Hart's probably worth a little bit more than Cam Reddish, so I think the Knicks definitely win this trade. I feel so bad for Damian Lillard. This man has gone through it with these guys. He had CJ McCollum as a backcourt guy. He's gone. He had Josh Hart. He's gone. Like, I don't understand what Portland is trying to do because Damian Lillard's a top 10 player in the league right now. I don't know if there's really any arguing in that.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to, but I think he's a top 10 player when healthy in the league. Why would you not want to build around Damian Lillard? Like, look what the Mavs are finally doing with Luka. They're getting him talent around him. And Portland, whenever they get talent, they just send it off. So I don't know what Portland's doing. I know Dame's a loyal guy, but like at some point he has to request out.
I don't know. I think he's one of those guys that he doesn't care if he wins a ring. I think he has generational wealth for him and his family for decades, So like, I think he is happy to play for Portland, represent the Blazers. I mean, they're in a play-in spot right now, so not doing terrible, but I don't think he's ever going to request out. I think he's going to stay there.
I know he's not, but like I feel so bad for this man because he deserves a ring for what he's been through with the Blazers.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's ever going to do it in Portland just because they refuse to put talent around him. And whenever they do get talent, they send it away.
The Raptors reacquired Jakob Poeltl from San Antonio. That sounds familiar. It's because they traded Jakob Poeltl to the Spurs when they got Kawhi Leonard back in 2018. The Raptors actually, everyone was thinking they were going to be selling everyone besides Scotty Barnes in their team. OG Anunoby rumors were going wild. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. But no, they buy instead. They're bordering on the plan whether they're going to make it or not. But they send out Khem Birch, a 1st-round pick for next season, which is unprotected, and 2 seconds. I mean, the Spurs, this is an absolute win. I mean, they're not trying to win this year anyway. They get Khem Birch, who will be a decent replacement for Poeltl. I mean, they're going to start Zach Collins now at the center there anyways. They get a 1st-round pick, which means the Raptors do what they're doing this year. That could be a top 6 pick, top 7 pick. And for the Raptors, I mean, they get someone that's more consistent than Precious Achiuwa has been at the 5, but I mean, they don't play with a true center sometimes. They've run Pascal Siakam at the 5. So a little confusing move. I don't know what you think about it.
I think it's good for the Spurs. Is that 2024 first protected at all?
Nope, it's unprotected.
So like we already know that the Raptors are teetering on toppling and blowing everything up because there's already been rumors. We didn't see OG, Van Fleet, or Siakam leave, which we thought, at least I thought, a couple of them would be traded out. But this is a team with all three of those guys, and they're still in like a play-in spot. This isn't a, it's not like a top three team. They're in 10th right now. Like they're 4 games below 500, and they're kind of at like their ceiling. I feel like this is the ceiling. So
Mm-mm.
that first round pick could very easily be a top 10 pick next year.
Yeah,
And
no, you're right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think San Antonio did
yeah,
great in this
they
deal.
absolutely did. Like they don't need Pirtle. If they're like the third worst team, so I mean, there's the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. Like if they win that, they won't need Pirtle at all. So
Yeah,
getting a possible a lottery pick for Jakob Pirtle at 2 seconds, which are crapshoots anyway, and Kem Birch, like I think that's an absolute win. And for the Raptors, like I don't know how much Pirtle is gonna propel this team. Like he's coming off the bench already. Like they have Siakam, they have Van Fleet and Ananobi. Like I don't know how much more Jakob Pertl is going to provide to this team. Like what, maybe bump him up to an 8 seed? Like I don't know. I don't think this moves the needle too much.
yeah, a little confusing. I mean, even Raptors fans were saying they're in trouble because they wanted to
Absolutely.
sell. They wanted to sell their players and get quality picks back. Because I mean, they have so many wings. Like Andrew Ananobi and Scotty Barnes are very good wings. They're also very similar, and they play the exact same position. So they were thinking, oh, Ananobi's going to get traded because Barnes is younger and has looked more promising. Even Fred Van Fleet, he just signed his big money deal. He hasn't really lived up to it this season. They're hoping he gets flipped for max value. I mean, I don't know. I feel like in the offseason, they're going to have to make some moves to realign this team, but just a very questionable move. Why get rid of a first round pick for a center who isn't going to elevate you to anything more than potentially a playoff spot?
Yeah, and like it's not like Pertl is like a stretch five. Like he is very in the paint, not shooting threes. Like the Raptors went from a team that could have possibly sold everybody and came out with 6 or 7 first round picks with. I mean, Siakam's probably worth at least 2 or 3, I would say. Van Fleet's probably worth, maybe 2, and OG Ananobi 1 or 2. I mean, you come out of the trade deadline with 5 or 6 first round picks, like you're already in 10th. You might as well just blow it up at this point anyway. But acquiring Pirtle, giving up a first that you're gonna need next year, was definitely a head scratcher. I don't know if this was their like big brain. All we need is a center, and we're the best team in the East. But yeah, I don't see how this is a win for the Raptors at all.
Maybe they're thinking like since they traded for him to get the rights to the NBA naming guessing game that's named Pirtle, maybe
Oh
that's
yeah,
what it
yeah, yeah.
was. They were thinking
Trying to
of
make
a
some money off
sponsorship.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the only thing I could see them saying about it.
yeah. I don't know. Bad trade for my opinion.
The Blazers got Matisse Thybulle. Philly decides to move on from Thybulle because he can't hit a three to save his life anymore. Portland actually sends Svi Mikhailiuk. I don't know if that's his name right.
Svi
Uh,
Mikhailiuk.
Svi Mikhailiuk.
Yes.
They just got him in the other deal. They're trading him to Charlotte with 2 seconds, and they sent 2 seconds to Philly. Philly sends Matisse Thybulle to Portland. Philly gets Jalen McDaniels from Charlotte. I think Philly robbed both of these teams. I mean, Philly gets Jalen McDaniels, a really good wing, athletic, tall, young, on a good contract. And I mean, Charlotte wasn't going to resign him anyways, but this is a great piece for Philly to have going to the playoffs. Thibault wasn't really playing much. Like he was the ninth member off the bench at this point. And Portland gets what they hope to be a younger version of Josh Hart and Thibault because Josh Hart's really good defensively. Thibault is really good defensively. The hope is they can help him figure out his offensive game. But I mean, Charlotte to get Svi and 2 seconds for Jalen McDaniels is an L in my opinion. And Portland, I think I would rank it Philly number one, Portland two, and then Charlotte three in this one.
Yeah, this one's kind of like a non-mover for me. I didn't really care. I mean, Matisse Thybulle, great defensively, but they had that in Josh Hart. Like you
Mm-hmm.
traded Josh Hart for the poor man's Josh Hart. Um, I don't know. I don't know what Portland's doing. I'm kind of confused. That trade right there to get Matisse Thybulle, like that's fine. Like Svi in 2 seconds for Thybulle, I'm taking that. But like in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things, it's confusing what they did. I definitely think Portland and Philly did good, and Charlotte, meh. I mean, Jalen McDaniels is not gonna elevate this team any higher than they already are. I don't think.
Yeah,
But it's a good depth wing piece. I'm really confused on what Portland's doing.
for sure. We had Jay Crowder, who got sent from Phoenix to
Get
Brooklyn in the
the
KD deal.
fuck out of here.
He is also Brooklyn told him the same thing because
Yeah.
Brooklyn told him get out of here too. Uh, he goes to the Milwaukee. The Bucks get Jay Crowder. The Pacers don't they trade 0 players out and they get Serge Ibaka, George Hill, Jordan Nwora, and 3 second-round picks. I mean, Serge Ibaka already reached the buyout with them, but the Indy literally traded 0 people and got 3 players and 3 second-round picks back. I mean, if that's not a robbery, I don't know what is. Brooklyn gets 2 second-rounders for Jay Crowder. Again, they got these 3 seconds, which I know doesn't amount to much, but they got 3 seconds and 3 players for nothing. I mean, that's got to be the best move of the deadline, right? They literally didn't have to give up anything.
Yeah, I mean, also a nothing burger from me. And a couple of these trades that we're going to talk about are pretty, like, non-relative to
Yeah.
what's going on. But, I mean, yeah, Jay Crowder on his third team in a span of 2 days. No, same day.
Same day.
3
Same
teams
day.
in the same day.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I don't think Jordan Nwora, George Hill, and 3 seconds are helping the Pacers at all. But, hey, it's a trade. We got to talk about it.
I would say that this trade got talked about, honestly, besides the KD and Kyrie moves, which we covered last episode. Check out episode 10.
I have my opinions on this one, buddy.
This trade got held up for 4 days between the Warriors, the Trailblazers, the Pistons, your Pistons, and the Atlanta Hawks. It got held up because Gary Payton II, who was coming from Portland to Golden State, the Warriors medical team said, "Whoa, you're taking Toradol for your abdominal strain. We didn't know that. We wanted to get you checked out to see whether you can actually play for us this season." The NBA and the Warriors ended up approving it. It went through yesterday on Super Bowl Sunday. The full move is Golden State gets Gary Payton II from Portland. Portland gets Kevin Knox from Detroit and 5 second-rounders from Golden State. Atlanta gets Sadiq Bey, yes, from Detroit for 3 second-rounders, which 3 of them are what Golden State sent to Portland. And your Pistons get James Wiseman for Sadiq Bey. That's the net for Detroit. Your thoughts? I mean, this is the only move Detroit made during the deadline. What do you say about going from a key wing averaging 17 points per game to another center?
Lottery wing that we drafted 3 years ago. Was he lottery? He might have been just outside.
I think he was just out. I think he was 17.
He was just out. But still, like, had 50 points last year in a game. Is probably our best shooter on the team. Like, for James Wiseman. James Wiseman, who has been in the G League because he can't even make the team. Like, he can't even produce for the Warriors, who don't have a center. Like, They have Kevon Looney. You're telling me that the second overall pick, James Wiseman, cannot outproduce Kevon Looney, and we traded for him. I in episode 10, I said, hey, it's a win if we come out of this trade deadline with like 3 first-round picks. Like, Sadiq Bey is worth a first-round pick plus like a solid rotational piece.
I mean, they got a lottery pick. They got a top 3 pick. It was just a player already drafted.
Yeah. Like, we get James Wiseman, which also doesn't fit what we're doing. Like, we have Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley, hopefully Victor Wembanyama. Like, why do we need another center? This will be the 4th. Nerlens Noel is on our team too. We have 5 centers. Like, what are we doing? We're trading one of our like lone wingers who's very good. Like, Sadiq Bey, underrated, I think. One of our best scorers other than Bogdanovich. I forgot about him. But like, what are we doing? Like, if we had traded for another wing, like, fine, whatever. But we're trading for a position that we already are trying to get rid of players. Like, we do not need 5 centers on this fucking team. I don't get it at all.
I think they're doing that 2K logic for, like, the more centers you have, the more games simulated you win. That's got to be what their logic is. Because, I mean, if big if they can unlock the reason why Wiseman was a top 2 pick overall and just get him being like a super defensive rebounding big, then maybe it could be a win. But you already have a guarantee in Sadiq Bey of what he is. Even if his ceiling isn't as high as Wiseman's potentially could be, the floors are way different. So I think Detroit gets a D for this trade. I mean, if they had gotten any of those 5 second-rounders, maybe up to a C, but that's it. Like, it's just a strange move from the Pistons.
Just absolutely mind-boggling how, like, inept the front office is. I don't get it. Like, James Wiseman is not better than 3 of the centers we have on our team right now. Like, there is a universe where we trot out Isaiah Stewart at the 3, James Wiseman at the 4, and Victor Wembanyama at the 5. Like,
I mean,
what?
and Jalen Duren's having a great year,
Yeah,
which
Jalen
is why
Duren's
I don't
great.
understand it. Unless they think he's going to be like the long-term backup to Wiseman. But then
Like,
why do you have Marvin Bagley unless you're going to play him at the
Yeah.
4? But
Like,
you have
Duren,
Isaiah Stewart. I mean, unless
Duren
they
just
do
had like
that.
a 30-20 game too. It's like he has the potential. Like, not everyone's just going out dropping 30-20. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Unless they
not.
think all 4 of them are going to be like the starter and backup for the 4 and 5. But then you have like the NBA is moving away from having 2
We
6
don't.
like
You
7
don't need
footers.
bigs.
Yeah. It's confusing.
Especially,
Smaller.
especially bigs that can't shoot. Like Wiseman's not a 3-point shooter. Isaiah Stewart's not a 3-point shooter. Jalen Duren's not a 3-point shooter. Like if you're gonna have these tall bigs, they have to be able to shoot.
Yeah.
We just have 5 of them that can't.
Detroit basketball.
Yeah, they're trying to go back to like the bad boys era of like big bad dudes, but it's like, my guy, we got to be able to shoot the ball.
Maybe they're gonna try and combine them all into Ben Wallace, like all their attributes,
Like,
all their
combine
attributes.
all 4 of them into one Ben Wallace, I'd take it.
Yeah, except taller because Ben Wallace is only 6'9".
Yeah.
Another small move. The Nuggets strangely sent Bones Highland to the Clippers, to a rival. He made the all rookie second team last year, sent him out to the Clippers for 2 second-round picks. The Denver media did not like this trade. I mean,
that was a bad trade.
Bones Highland's 22 with 3 cheap years left in his deal. I don't know. I mean, the Clippers fleeced them here. I don't see any. I just don't know why the Nuggets did this move. That's one reason why I brought it up.
Why are you trading a guy named Bones? Like, first
Also
of all,
true.
All generational name team right there.
Yep.
Bones,
Along with Smoke
Highland,
Monday. Oof.
Smoke Monday. Oh, great.
Mhm.
What's the other guy? McKinstry Kool-Aid or whatever
Mhm.
from Alabama. And then there's a guy in Coastal whose last name's McDoom. It's like, holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Too. But I don't know. Like, he gives them energy. He's a fan favorite off the bench. He's, like you said, second team all rookie last year, and you're
Yeah.
like, if it was a first round pick, okay. But I don't know if he's worth a first. Probably not yet. I don't know why they didn't just hold on to him. Like,
But he's also averaging 12 points a game for
Yeah.
you. Like, unless they think, I mean, they could get that talent. They have plenty of players, the Nuggets do. But then why send him to a division, like a conference
yeah.
foe?
And like,
That's
this
fighting
is
with you.
This is the best team in the West right now, like on paper in the standings. Like, you didn't get anything that you can put on the court back right now? Like, why are you giving up a key depth rotational piece for 2 second-round picks? Like,
Detroit should have done this trade. Detroit should have sent 2 second-round picks for Bones
hell
Highland.
yeah, I would
if he
think
was
that.
if he was only that little, like that would have been awesome, especially with Cade being out all year. That would have been great.
Would have been, but I don't know. Confusing trade for me. The Nuggets, I don't know. I don't know why they did this. They had a key backup point guard, which, I mean, Jamal Murray has his own injury history, so I don't know why you would get rid of a very serviceable backup in Bones Highland for 2 second-round picks. But hey, I'm not a GM. I just have a podcast.
We're going to talk about a legend who's joining the names of Shaq and Dwight Howard. Now, this third player is joining this amazing group of Orlando big men getting sent to LA, and it's Mo Bamba, not the song, the player, getting sent to the Lakers for Patrick Beverly. This makes 0 sense. The Magic have 6 guards in their team, and they're getting a 7th in Patrick Beverly. They have Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs. They get Patrick Beverly, who's going to do nothing for the Magic. He's going to be miserable. I mean,
he's getting bought out, isn't he?
He is. So what's the point? I mean, yeah, it gives them room to play. Who's the center for them that used to play for Chicago? The center for the Magic. Can't think of his name. They have Bol there as well. So like, they get
center that played for the Bull, Vucevic. I mean, he still plays for.
No. He used to play for the Bulls. He got traded for Vucevic last year. I can't think of his name.
The only other Bulls center I can think of is Nikola Mirotic.
No, that's from many years ago. No, Wendell Carter Jr. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Him. I mean, Wendell Carter, Vo Wagner, right? Because that's the one that's
Mo Wagner.
Mo Wagner. Vo Wagner. Vo Wagner. Mo Wagner. It gives them more playing time, but again, LA robs this team. They got a great front court depth, which they needed. They needed a backup for AD. He didn't play yesterday, but just a weird trade overall.
Yeah, another nothing burger.
A nothing trade.
Mo Bamba's not going to set this team apart from anybody else, but
yeah,
I don't know. Cool to see Mo Bamba get out of Orlando into the big lights of LA.
Yep. We had a reacquisition. Eric Gordon going back to LA to the Clippers. We just talked about. They get reunited. Eric Gordon actually got sent to the Pelicans for Chris Paul originally. when he was a second-year player. They ship Luke Kennard to Memphis. They get the right to swap picks with Houston. So now Houston can choose whether they want their pick or the Clippers picks. It's going to be Houston's anyway because Houston sucks. Houston gets Danny Green, who was bought out. John Wall reunited in Houston. He gets bought out. 3 second-round picks, and Memphis gets Luke Kennard. Again, a kind of nothing deal. Eric Gordon goes from a bottom team to a playoff contender. Can probably help them with their three-point shooting. And that's literally it. Like, Houston just got 3 second-round picks for this, and Memphis gets Luke Kennard, who might help them with their wing depth in the future. I mean, again, Detroit legend, but that's about it for this trade.
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers had like a sneaky good trade deadline with getting Eric Gordon and Bones Highland. I'm not going to send them. A lot of these trades were just depth pieces, but LA probably had the second best, maybe third best trade deadline after Phoenix and the Lakers. So,
Yeah.
again, another nothing burger, but for the Clippers, it adds a little bit more depth and 3-point shooting.
And the last deal to talk about, Pelicans get Josh Richardson for a Miami Heat Magic City legend. We turned from a second-round pick into Jimmy Butler straight up. That was the deal. So shout out Josh Richardson for helping us get Jimmy Butler.
Mind-numbing trades I've ever seen.
It's a great job of a sign and trade.
Yeah.
So he is now going to New Orleans to be a King Wing for the playoffs. San Antonio gets 4 second-round picks and Devontae Graham, who used to be with Charlotte. And again, kind of a nothing deal, but Devontae Graham scored 31 points for the Spurs off the bench in the first game. I mean, that's the most points ever for a Spurs player in the first game for them. So shout out to Devontae Graham. But the Pelicans just needed more defense, and that's what they got here. That's about it.
I think that's everything for the NBA. That was all the trades.
All the trades. I mean, my overall reaction I talked about earlier. I actually think Portland did okay. They got a lot younger in their trades. They're 27th in defense. So they essentially traded Josh Hart and Gary Payton II for 5 players, 5 second-round picks, and a conditional first, which I think that's a really good move. I mean, Phoenix definitely won it by getting KD, right? That's overall the best deal.
I don't think anybody's arguing against Phoenix winning the trade deadline.
Yeah. And like you said, I like what the Clippers did. I like the Clippers got rid of Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, and John Wall. None of these three were really playing for them that much, except for Reggie Jackson, but they get Eric Gordon, Bones Highland, who's going to play a lot for them now at the backup one, and Mason Plumlee from the Hornets. They actually got him for a second-round pick, and I wouldn't discuss it, but that was it. I mean, I don't know if you have any other big thoughts about overall the trade deadline this year.
No, it was fun, a lot of trades, but I mean, other than the KD deal, I think that it was kind of just depth rotational pieces being traded in and out, so nothing too exciting other than the KD trade, and then obviously the shenanigans with the 4-team trade and Gary Payton. But
yeah, a lot of mid being traded around.
Hey man, as a Suns fan, I'll take it. It's a win.
The other big thing that happened in the NBA was, of course, we called it. I thought it was going to happen on Thursday against the Bucks. It actually happened the day we recorded the podcast on Tuesday. That is LeBron James breaking Wilt Chamberlain's all-time scoring record. He got off a mid-range jumper. I said if it wasn't a layup, it'd be a jumper. You thought it would be a 3. He surpasses Wilt Chamberlain's all-time scoring record. They still lost the game, showing how badly LA needed these trades because they can't even beat the Thunder at home.
Awful. You cannot lose that game.
They paused the game at the end of the third quarter, had this whole thing with LeBron. He said words, all this kind of stuff, thanks to his wife. And they still lose. I mean, it's a great moment. It's a historic moment, though. Congrats to LeBron. Not congrats to the Lakers because they still lost to the Thunder. So I know it got you thinking. It got me thinking. It's been 29 years since the record was broken. Who is currently playing or in the future do you think can break LeBron's record? He's obviously going to keep playing. He's going to keep scoring. But let's imagine he retired today and the mark is still 38,388. Who do you think is going to get there?
I don't think anyone will. At least not that's playing right now. If I had to put like odds on like to beat it, I think it's probably either Luka or Tatum. I think those are the two safest bets to, like, if someone was to beat it, it's those two. I mean, Booker would have to average like 32 points a game for the next 10 years, and he has his own injury history. Giannis, maybe, but he has to play like 10 more full seasons and average 28. Like, that's the thing, is there's nobody close. Like, the closest people are Steph and Kevin Durant, and neither of them are obviously beating it.
And Carmelo Anthony. He hasn't technically retired yet.
Oh, yeah, sorry. but there's just nobody that's even close right now. Like it's not like it's been a running between LeBron and somebody else to break the record. Everyone's just so far behind. Like people are saying maybe Victor Wembanyama is
Mhm.
like the next non-player in the league to break it, which I could see. I mean, he's a 7'2" guy that could shoot threes. Like who's stopping that man?
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to say right now, I'd say Luca and Tatum are probably 1 and 2.
I would say Luca for sure. I mean, they even asked him about it when LeBron broke the
Yeah, he
record.
was like, I don't even give a shit, dude. I'd rather go on my farm back
In my
in
farm, yeah.
Slovenia.
Because he said he doesn't want to play 20 years in the NBA. I mean,
Yeah,
if he played 10 more years and averaged 36 a night, he could do it. But
she's
if
not
he,
doing that.
which he's not doing, but if he played 15 full years and averaged 24 a season, he would break it, which that would be 20 years in the NBA. So, I mean, if he didn't go to his farm early, he could break it. But I think Tatum is probably the closest. He's got to average almost 30 a season for 12 years, and he'd be 36 at that point. No, he'd be 38, just like LeBron is now. So it's so hard to break. I mean, Wilt's literally stood for 30 years almost. And I don't know if anybody of this generation is going to break it. Scoring is definitely up in the league. It's going to take somebody like Luca or Booker that can definitely hit the three ball, but is also crafty enough to where they don't rely on their athleticism. Of course, LeBron is a freak of nature athletically, but he's very crafty. He does a lot. He has a lot of moves that he doesn't need to rely on them so much. So it's going to take somebody like that. Who knows? It might not ever get broken again.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll come back to you guys in 20 years on episode 6,000 and whatever because
in
I don't.
30 in
Yeah,
31 years, we'll come back to you and we'll get
yeah.
back and see if
I
anyone
don't. I
broke
don't
it.
think anybody in the league right now is breaking it. I think Luca might get the closest, but he's still probably not going to be within 5,000 points of it.
Yeah. It'll be tough. I mean, I think they break top 10. I think they break top
Yeah.
10, but
Yeah.
I don't think they get number one.
I am a betting person, but I don't. There's no like bets on it. But I'm betting Luca. If there
Betting
was to be
Luca.
one, I'm betting Luca.
Yeah. Again, his health is also a big reason.
Yeah.
Also, he's with Kyrie now. How much does Kyrie limit the play? Does he stay in Dallas? So, like, there's so many things.
Cade
Oh,
Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham, Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
No way. We did have another main NBA issue, and that is Zion Williamson once again re-aggravated his hamstring injury. He's out multiple weeks now. I know you had the thought of, is he a bust?
Oh, I thought you were going to continue with that.
No, is he a bust?
I'm sorry. I think he was overhyped coming in out of high school. I thought he was overhyped coming out of Duke, and I don't want to put the bus label on him yet because he's still in his what like third year,
Hmm.
fourth year. But he cannot stay healthy. Like no matter what the Pelicans do, they cannot keep this guy healthy. And I feel like this is going to be a theme throughout his career. Is yeah, he has the explosive talent, but like he also has that same amount of risk of blowing his knee out anytime he steps on the court. And I know you were kind of comparing him to Joel Embiid, but like Joel Embiid, ever since he had like his first season out, he hasn't had too many injury problems. Like yeah, he's had a few here and there, like miss a week or two, but
Hmm.
I mean he hasn't missed like an entire season like Zion has been doing. So I don't know. I mean
Hmm.
he has the talent to shed the bust label, I think, but I mean we're in year 3 and we've seen him play like what 60 games.
He played 61 his second year. He played 19 his first year, and he's played 19 this season
Yeah,
so
so
far.
he's played just about 100 games in his NBA career in year 3.
Yeah. And I compared him to Joel because Joel missed his first 2 years fully, played 60 games, even his third season, which he um, didn't even start for all the games. He played, I think, 38 games. And then since his fourth year, he's made the All-Star game every year since and has played almost 60 games every year since. So age 23 is what Zion turns next season. And I think they need to figure out what it is. I don't think being in New Orleans is helping his case because I know there's the big questions of his weight
This
and
man
his
eating gumbo every day.
dietary issues. And his mother is actually his main dietitian and agent.
Yeah, he needs to get rid of that. I'm
And
sorry, Mama, but
and he said he hasn't changed his diet at all since entering the
yeah,
NBA, except
no.
having more vegetables. So like they just need to figure out what it is they did for Joel Embiid. I don't think he's a bust yet. He just got that second contract, so he's going to be signed to that starting next season. He just needs to take the time and get healthy. Like he just needs when he's on the court, he's great. It's just he needs to stay on the court. and it's always lower body issues. It was the foot with Embiid. It's the hamstrings and the feet with Zion. So I think they just need to figure it out. I think he'll be fine. Yeah, I don't want to label him out a bust because he's made the All-Star game twice now. So it's hard to be a bust when you're a
Which
two-time
how
All-Star.
did he make the All Star game this year is beyond me.
Fan voting.
Yeah.
Fan voting.
So, do we really want to consider him a two-time All-Star? I would say no.
Yeah,
His Wikipedia
because
page will say yeah, but he was not an All-Star this year.
the media and the players are also 25-25, and they also voted him for an All-Star. They voted him in the top 8.
He played
So
19 games. So I mean,
I know, but
I know he's going to be considered a two-time All-Star. I don't think he is. He's a one-time All-Star with this year as an asterisk year for me. But he has to absolutely get the weight under control. That's the issue. This man weighs like 300 pounds.
yeah.
The whole story in the offseason was like, holy shit, look at this man. And he did nothing to fix it. Like, it kind of goes to show like where his mindset's at right now. It doesn't seem like he really cares about getting back into shape. So I'm going to say he's a bust for now. I mean, he obviously has the potential to shed the bust label, but until he can put the effort in off the court to be better on the court, I'm going to have that same opinion.
Yeah, Zion currently weighs 284 pounds,
Which
which for a 6'6" forward
it's no.
is a lot. I mean, that's a lot of weight. And the new contract he signed, which again goes into effect next season, has a weight requirement.
Good.
It does.
Should.
So the sum of his body weight and body fat percentage must be below 295 the entirety of his contract. So if
Or what? Like they can just void it?
no, so the money on his contract gets reduced below 190 million. If he can make up to 200, it's 40 million, 50 million that he loses out on if he doesn't go into weight.
Yeah, I mean, shit, that's a decent amount of money.
Yeah. But he weighed 300 pounds when training camp started 2 years ago.
And he's
So
lost 10 pounds about.
yeah,
So
so that's what I'm saying. Like
that's-
he needs to get, yeah. Yeah. I mean, now apparently he's hired a new private chef to work out with him, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to label him a bust yet, but I hope he gets healthy and gets underweight for sure. So I know you had a question that you wanted to propose during the
Yeah.
podcast.
So since we have no more football to talk about, hold on, I'm sorry, I gotta check my emails real quick, but I'm good. Um, since we have no more football, I'm gonna ask a question every week. Just a question. Could be sports related, could not be sports related. We're gonna have a little discussion about it. I know today's episode is running a little long, but in the future probably won't run this long because no football and no trade deadline stuff. But
Yeah.
my question for you today is: what is the hardest championship in the 4 major sports to win?
The hardest trophy or the hardest championship to win. I'm gonna say baseball, and here's why. Because baseball has just the right amount of combination of you have to win multiple games to win the series, but not in the first rounds. You only have to win 2 games or even 1 game in the wild card round to advance. And baseball's
Wild card is best of 3 now.
that's what I'm saying. You only have to win 2 games. So
Yeah.
like it's more fluky, I would say. Football is also very fluky because you can just suck 1 game. Look at the Bills against the Bengals. They were a great team all season and they had 1 terrible game and now their season's done. But it's also in football, I think, harder for just like luck to determine the outcome. So I think football is just underneath baseball. I think basketball is a hard championship, but injuries play such a big part. Home court advantage is huge in basketball. I'm not saying it's not in other sports, but in an indoor small arena, the noise is actually deafening when all the fans are loud. And I put it the same level as hockey because I think like the format is very similar between basketball and hockey playoffs. So I would go baseball as the hardest because yeah, you can get fluky and you can get with it. So you can be such a good team. Like look at the Dodgers last year, an amazing team, and they still didn't even make it to the World Series. So I would say baseball for me is the hardest to win.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna agree just because of everything you said. Plus, like if you run into a hot pitcher in an elimination game, you're done. Like there's just like there's nothing you can do if a guy throws a no hitter against you. Whereas like football, you're not running into like hot quarterbacks or anything. Like you're running into good quarterbacks, but it's no one that's just like I'm throwing 500 yards on you. Like I'm setting a record.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, it's like you run into a third guy in the rotation that just like is on his shit the last month. Like you're not beating him.
Look at Zach Gallen. Zach
Yeah,
Gallen goes against you
exactly.
last year, and you're probably not going to win. Same with
No,
Sandy Alcantara.
42 innings. Like scoreless, like you're not beating that.
Yeah.
I think if I had to rank them from hardest to easiest, I'm gonna go baseball as the hardest. Second hardest, I think, is hockey, just because of like how physical hockey is.
Mhm.
To win, you have to win 3 7 game series, like while traveling a lot to Canada and to the West Coast. Like the travel is bad.
That is true. Yeah.
I think hockey is probably the second hardest, especially if you run into a hot goalie. Like same thing with the hot pitcher. You run into a hot goalie, you're not winning. Like
Yeah.
you could throw 40 shots at this dude, he stops 39 of them. Like you're probably not winning the game.
Look what happened with the Lightning last year.
Yeah,
I mean, the Panthers were the better team, but they just couldn't get by the Lightning's
yeah,
goalie, and that's why they won 2 Stanley Cups.
yeah. Like hockey is incredibly difficult. I think football is probably the third hardest, the second easiest. But like, yeah, it's fluky. You only have to win one game though. Like we saw it this year. Both the best teams, number one seed in both divisions, made the Super Bowl. And like I feel like that happens more often than it doesn't. With the number ones end up winning it all, just because they're better. Like the talent disparity in football, I think, is a little bit higher than everything else. I think basketball is the easiest, just because like you can have one star player that takes over for you. Like
Mhm.
if we saw it with LeBron when he took the Cavs, like you could have nobody else on that team, but if you have a guy dropping 40 points a game, like you're good.
Yeah, think about it. LeBron and the Cavs won a game against the Warriors with KD, even though Kyrie was hurt, Kevin Love was hurt,
Yeah,
and they still went out to one game. And also the one seed in football, you have to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl.
yeah, that's it.
You have to, and both are at home. I mean, of course, you have to be good enough to get the one seed to get to that point, anyways. But just getting to the playoffs, it's much harder for a lower seed in football to make it to the Super Bowl than it is a top seed. Like, look at the Rams and the Bengals last year. Bengals were a 3 seed, and the Rams were the 2 seed or something like that, and they made it. So it's a lot harder for teams that are like the wild card round to make it. Whereas look at baseball, the Nationals made it and the Phillies made it just in the last 4 years. You've had both those teams make it to the World Series. Because again, it's harder for the top teams to win it because it's so fluky, which is why it's hardest to win a championship. So yeah, I'd say baseball.
Yeah, I think baseball is probably the consensus answer. If anybody says basketball, you're on crack.
We of course have no more football to talk about, but we do have some things to discuss on this channel going forward. We will talk about some outlooks, of course, any free agency. We saw Derek Carr is now going to be released today, and it's going to be a free agent, free to sign for any team. But we also have fantasy football to talk about. We talked about our fantasy football punishments. None of us are doing it, thank goodness. We're not that bad. But we did. I know you want to talk a little bit about fantasy for next year and just the quarterback position. Of course, it's the first, never really the first pick you think about in fantasy football, but it is important to build a good team. Take us down. Who do you think for next season, before any big moves, are the top 5 guys you're looking at the quarterback spot?
All right, so I know you wrote yours down in the document here, and we're
Mhm.
pretty much the same, but I think we might disagree on one of these.
Yep.
So I have number one, obviously Patrick Mahomes,
Yep.
and this isn't in any order. This is just my top five.
Okay.
Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts,
Solid.
Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence gets
I don't hate it.
Gets Calvin Ridley next year, coming back year 2 under Doug Peterson, had a great year this year. I think he's in prime position for a top 5 NFL. What am I trying to
Fantasy
say?
football
Yeah, there you
performance.
go.
Yeah.
Top 5 fantasy football performance next year.
I don't hate it. I think he's underrated for next season. I mean, he was 7th or 8th this past season. I don't hate the pick. I don't. For me, I have everyone the same. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Hurts. For me, I have a tie between Tua and Lamar Jackson. Of course, depending on where Lamar goes. But that was actually the top 5 in average points per week this season. Was that. So this is, of course, taking health out of the equation almost, just in games Tua played. Of course, there were games that he didn't finish, 2 of them. So he could even be higher on this list. But I think that offense with him and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, of course, Gesicki's probably going to leave. I think he's going to have more solid games of a floor because the pass attempts are just way higher. And Lamar has that rushing threat. Like, no matter, even if Lamar moves teams, like he's going to be the same quarterback. So I think that for the top 5. But I don't hate T Law. I had T Law as one of my underrated quarterbacks for next season. And we'll just jump into it. I mean, I think T Law next season would be a great pick for your team. Kirk Cousins, I know everything about Kirk Cousins. I know you think the Vikings are trash.
Vikings are trash. Frauds.
They are, but he is always top 10. because he gives you at least 20 points a game, which is kind of what you want from the quarterback spot. He may never break 40, but he's never going to give you like a 15-point or less performance either. I think Justin Fields is on that boat just of his rushing ability. Same with Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson, who I actually drafted along with Tua and ended up keeping Tua. I think Russell Wilson next year will figure it out in year two with Sean Payton. Again, the talent is essentially the same as it was this season. Just the coaching was terrible this year. But if I had any of those guys in my quarterback, I wouldn't be too disappointed.
I don't know. I think Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson might be a little suspect there. But my underrated quarterbacks, I got four of them. I got Jared
Okay.
Goff. I think anyone's happy if they get Jared Goff after these top five guys.
Mm-hmm.
With the offense he has with Jamison Williams coming back from injury, the Sun God himself, maybe draft a tight end. Jared Goff's going to be very underrated. Kenny Pickett, I think, had a very rough rookie season. Give him year two. Give it. I mean, he's got George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris out of the backfield. I think he has a decent enough supporting cast around him to have a very underratedly good year. Like if Kenny Pickett finishes top 15 in quarterbacks next year, I'm absolutely not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do I have? I got Deshaun Watson, who had some glimpses of being back to his former self after his very bad suspension. I think the Browns might be a little improved next year with Amari Cooper getting another season. Their wide receiver core is pretty weak, but is Jarvis Landry? No, he's not. He's with the Saints still, isn't he?
Yeah, he's with the Saints.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jarvis Landry isn't a name that I've heard in a while, but
No, no, no.
I think not Kyler Murray. Well, Kyler Murray is the next on my list, but Deshaun Watson could have a very underrated year as well for the Browns in a very mid division, I'd say. Um, and then yeah, Kyler Murray had a really bad year this year. Gets rid of Cliff Kingsbury. Who'd they hire? Have they hired anyone yet?
The Cardinals have not hired a new coach. They actually said they're pausing it for the Super Bowl because they wanted the
Okay.
attention on the game, not the team.
So I think Kyler Murray with a new quarterback, new system, new quarterback, new coach, new system could flourish. He's proved himself. He's a top 10 quarterback in the league. Had a really bad year last year. I'm not upset if I get Kyler Murray in the top 10 of quarterbacks drafted.
I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, I have my draft quarterbacks. I have Kyler Murray. I have Kyler Murray. I am not drafting Kyler Murray. You can have him. You can take him. With his injury concern, he might not even be ready for training camp. New coach coming in, new system probably being implemented. Like he said, it could work out in his favor, but I'm not touching Kyler Murray until I see him actually perform in the field. I think Dak Prescott is very similar. No injury, but new offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore has gone to LA, the Chargers. Struggled with interceptions this last year. We don't know how they're going to remake that running back room. It's going to be more running back heavy, or they just let Dak cook, which, I mean, this season showed maybe he shouldn't be. I also think Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, both very similar new teams potentially on the horizon, definitely for Derek Carr. Declining talent. I mean, Aaron Rodgers just won up 2 MVPs in a row. I get it, but this year he was really bad, and it doesn't look like the team's going to get much better. They're very restricted against the cap. It's hard for them to bring any more people. And I'm not touching any 49ers quarterback. I don't care if it's Brock Purdy, if it's Trey Lance, if it's Jimmy G again. Too much uncertainty, too much reliance on outside talent like Christian McCaffrey and Devo Samuel. I think they can have good seasons or good games, but to be consistent week after week after week, I'm not touching that team at all.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I have a couple of the same ones. I have Dak. I am not drafting Dak. Like, led the league in interceptions this year, played like 12 games. I will not touch Dak Prescott. I don't know if you saw last night, he won the Walter Payton Man of the Year and
He
got booed
did.
at the stadium, which was hilarious.
Yeah, he did.
Um,
He did.
I'm not touching Dak. Like you said, they're probably going to go running back oriented next year. They have weapons. Like CD Lamb is a good wide receiver, but other than that, it's pretty meh. Dalton Schultz is probably on his way out. I think he might go to Detroit. Detroit's got money and needs a tight end. Dalton Schultz will be good there. I have Aaron Rodgers. We don't know where he's going. He's on his 4-day cabin in the woods darkness retreat. I don't know if you heard about that, but
Yes, I did.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
where he
he's
only
on.
gets fed food through a
Yeah,
thing and it's
through.
optional,
Oh, it's quite
and
literally.
they can't even see their face or their hand this
It's quite
close.
literally solitary confinement for 4 days to see what he
Yeah,
wants to do.
it's weird.
I think no matter where he goes, I think it's down to either the Jets or the Packers. The Packers are going to lose Alan Lazard first of all, and they have no other options to pick up people on the outside. He's going to be bad next year if he stays in Green Bay. If he goes to the Jets also don't have much. in the way of wide receiver weapons except for Garrett Wilson. But I'm not betting on that being a top 10 connection in the NFL. I will not be drafting Aaron Rodgers. Um, I put this is kind of vague, but I said any coming like any rookie quarterback coming in from this draft class. Bryce Young, I think if he goes to Houston, he'll be okay. He won't be a top 15 quarterback in the league, and I don't think C.J. Stroud will be either. It'll probably be the Colts and the Texans getting those two guys. Is that how it falls down? Yeah,
Yeah,
because the Bears won't draft one
unless a team trades
unless the
up.
team trades up. But if I
Yeah,
mean if Indy and
Houston.
Houston, I mean they also have really no weapons on the outside either. They're not going into positions where they can thrive. I don't think any rookie quarterback. I don't think Will Levis is gonna be a great quarterback
Starter.
in the NFL. Yeah. Who else is gonna be in that draft? Will Levis.
Anthony Richardson from the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I mean he's. I don't think anybody's gonna draft him. So it's really the top three guys I'm not drafting, and then last one, whoever starts for the Saints, whether it's Jameis, whether it's Andy Dalton. I don't. Has there been any rumors about who's starting in New Orleans?
They have said they're likely looking into Jameis Winston leaving the team and them re-signing Andy Dalton. And they just had the meeting with Derek Carr, and they had an agreement in place for the trade. However, they didn't want to go through it because they had no incentive to get traded because then the Raiders would be paying less money to Derek Carr. Derek
Yeah.
Carr doesn't have to do that for the Raiders, so he could still go to New Orleans.
Yeah, I think even if he does, New Orleans is going to be a better team next year, but it won't be because of their quarterback. Like, yeah, they have Chris Olave, who probably should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like what slant boy Michael Thomas, who cannot stay on the field for more than a game, and Jarvis Landry, who cannot stay on the field for more than a game, like that is not an offense that is catered to a quarterback. That is a we are going to live and die by the defense. Any quarterback that goes to New Orleans, I am not drafting.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust any rookie quarterback regardless. The last rookie quarterback that really blew it up and was super successful was Carson Wentz and Sean Watson and Cam Newton his first year because of the rushing touchdowns that he broke the record for most by a quarterback. I agree with New Orleans not being that attractive. I mean, Michael Thomas, again, will he ever play in the NFL consistently again? Chris Olave is great. Jarvis Landry's there, but they need to figure out unless it's Derek Carr. Again, that's the only person I see maybe doing okay. But again, I wouldn't be jumping up and down after my fantasy draft with them as my quarterback.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
But I think that is it for us today in this episode. We talked a lot about football, but it's the last football event of the year until the draft, essentially, or until there's free agents or trades. Basketball, the All-Star break is coming up next weekend, so we'll definitely see if the dunk contest is any excitement, 3-point contest is anything. If there's even a good All-Star game, who knows? But we'll get you, of course, updated with all the new signings and trades that happen across baseball. If there's any more that happen, we know we've got Tiger Woods making his return next week. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Daytona 500 coming up and the World Baseball Classic. Did you buy your tickets already?
I have not. I'm waiting because they're really expensive. But the U.S. plays Mexico here in Phoenix. It's going to be an amazing game. I will be going. I just haven't bought my tickets to it yet. We also play, I think, Great Britain on the weekend too. So
Jazz
I
Chisholm
mean,
Jr. I think he's still playing for Great Britain unless he decided to opt out. But
yeah. That I mean, hey, if we get to beat England and Mexico in the same weekend, like that is every American's dream in sports. Like those two teams have owned us in everything it seems like. So,
yep.
excited. This is a big week, like you said, with Tiger coming back at the Genesis. Really excited for that. The Daytona 500. I know you're not a big NASCAR guy. I'm not either. But
Nope.
like, hey, when COVID was happening, I was watching NASCAR because it was the only thing on. World Baseball Classic. Excited for college baseball starts this week.
There we
Excited
go.
for that. College baseball starting, and hey, we have football back in 2 months.
Yeah, the
The
USFL.
USFL, which we will not be covering on this
No
podcast.
way. The United
But
States Football League, The Rock can have his football league. That's fine. That would be
yeah,
fine.
but pretty big week for of non big sports, but a big week for some other sports. But yeah, excited. If you guys are listening to this on YouTube, which hopefully you are, if you are, follow us on Instagram 31305pod. If you're listening to us on Spotify, follow us on YouTube. Don't know what the YouTube channel is called yet because we haven't made it, but hopefully by tonight it'll be up on YouTube. So I don't know if you have anything else.
No, just go check us out on Spotify for sure. We'll be there on Instagram. Hopefully, the YouTube is set up by tonight or before the next podcast episode is recorded. But we will see you next time to bring you anything sports. Until then, I'm Alex,
I'm Taylor.
and we'll catch you next time.